Hi everyone, welcome to my week 7 demo. So to begin, I kind of want to talk a little bit about my application as a whole. I wanted to make sure that the Next.js front end and the Flask backend were integrated properly. I just double checked and made sure if there were any mistakes, cleared those mistakes up. But most of this week was dedicated to building Docker files. For my particular application, there's kind of two aspects. There's that Next.js front end and the Flask backend. So I had to create Docker files for both of those. And then I also created a third file, the Docker Compose YAML file. And this YAML file kind of allows me to build both Docker images for those aspects, both the Next.js frontend and Flask backend, and run containers simultaneously. So it kind of speeds up the entire process as an all-in-one kind of toolkit. And then I also set up GitHub Actions to essentially automate the process of building the Docker images, but also pushing them to Docker Hub. And this is my GitHub repo. And as you can see here, it was built successfully. These 2 points are pretty critical here because this is where, or I'm sorry, these 2 points, because this is where you're not only building the Docker image, but also pushing the Docker image as well. And as you can see here, the both of those Docker images were successfully built, which is exactly what I was going for. So all in all, throughout the course of this week, I was able to accomplish what I was looking for, especially fixing some of the challenges I had with Docker last week. I want to go a little bit into the pros and cons of RAG as well for my particular application. For me, it was important that I have RAG because it improved the accuracy of the model that I was using. Most LLMs don't have a lot of information regarding JDoc. They're not trained on that information. So to prevent hallucinations as well as misinformation, I thought it was pretty important that the application has an external database that I can collect, that it can use relevant chunks and information to generate a response. So it definitely increases the accuracy of the model in my particular case. Also, adaptability, I think, is important because as changes are made to JDoc over time, I think it's important to be able to change up that vectorized database that potentially add more information as time goes on. So that's a huge, I think, benefit of using RAG in my case. There are some drawbacks, though. I think latency is still something that I've been kind of struggling with because the whole process of retrieving those chunks, creating a new prompt, as well as generating an output, it takes some time. And so I think that I've definitely noticed when a user has been entering the query, it takes a little bit longer, especially when using RAG to generate that output. And then another big con of RAG in general is that you got to make sure that the data that you have in your vectorized database is high quality. This per se is not necessarily just specific to my application. I think it's just general. It's important when adding chunks to your vectorized database that all that information is rich and quality data because that's the chunks that are going to be used by your LLM to generate your output. So you got to make sure that that information is top notch. And when I was originally populating my database, I made sure that all the information I was collecting about JDoc was factual, as well as from a primary source, which in this case was the website of JDoc. Thank you.